here's what the real risk is. It's staying stuck and waiting to feel safe and thinking that will make things work out for you, because that's what I did for years. The place in 2021 when I was at rock bottom and about to quit on my dream, that's what burned through my $20,000 in savings, was me being afraid to invest in myself at a bigger level. Welcome to the Move Abroad Coach podcast, the show for coaches, freelancers, and entrepreneurs who are ready to create freedom-based lives overseas. I'm your host, Rochelle Gamblem, Move Abroad coach and business mentor, who's built a life in 6 different countries and helped thousands of people create lives they love abroad. In this show, we get real about what it takes to make your move happen, from creating income you control to navigating visas, mindset, and everything in between. So if you're ready to design a life that feels aligned, sustainable, and truly free, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. The best money that I ever spent was money that I was very scared to spend, and I almost said no. Now, before I set the scene and I tell you the full story, I need to tell you why this is so important. Spending money can be very fun, but it can also be very scary. Investing thousands of dollars into something when you don't think you can afford it, or you're worried it'll eat into your savings, or maybe you don't even have the savings and you're doing it on credit or a loan. That can be very scary. It can feel risky. It can seem irresponsible, but not always. I'm actually in the middle of running my Move Abroad Escape Plan Bootcamp this week, and tomorrow is our income day where we're talking income and money. So this has been all over my mind the last few days. And our instinct is to lock it down, right? Not spend money that we don't have or think that we can't afford it, right? That's the responsible thing to do, is lock it down, not invest the money. But it's not always the most responsible or best thing that you can do. Not if you know that the investment is going to give you the life that you want. And that's what we're talking about here in this episode, is the life. Living in your dream country, lower cost of living, slow mornings with a cup of coffee and a view of the ocean, cobblestone streets, never needing a car, right? A life of freedom where you have the freedom to live anywhere in the world and do what work that you love and be free from financial anxiety and feel free to be yourself and feel safe and live the truest future self visualization life that any of you that were there in day 1 of the bootcamp visualized with me yesterday, right? Getting there and getting to this life is going to require some form of investment, both financial and time. So I want to talk about that today, the investment piece, and how I actually talked myself out of the best financial investment of my life, or I almost talked myself out of it, with the biggest payoff. And for me, a freedom life was not just about living abroad, right? I had already been living abroad, but I wanted location independence. I wanted to be able to live anywhere in the world, and I wanted to work for myself, doing work that I loved, helping other people. I didn't want to be tied to a job in China. And while I enjoyed freelancing, I didn't really want to help other people build their coaching brands. I wanted to run my own. I wanted to be the face. I wanted to be the visionary. I wanted to spread the message and help thousands of people. But I was struggling. Okay, let me set the scene for you here. It is fall 2021. I'm broke. I've burned through the $20K in savings that I had from working as a college counselor in China. I quit my job in China in 2018 with a dream of coaching people to move abroad. But my first business, helping people move to China, just never quite took off. And then 2020 happened. So whoops. Oh, and then I built up this freelancing income. But with that freelancing income and my husband's fledgling business, we were just making enough to cover cost of living. That's it. Like, we were not saving. We didn't have any extra. And we were living somewhere cheap too. Rent was, at this point, I think it was $800 per month. Our insurance was around $37 per month. Like, we were living in Tbilisi, Georgia. It was not an expensive place to live. And still, we were barely breaking even every month. And I could not get my business to help people move abroad off the ground. I had a course in a community. It was called the Freedom Life course. It was $300 and I couldn't get anyone to buy it. I was running free webinars and I was running ads to these webinars to teach people around moving abroad. And then I would pitch my course at the end. But I was I was barely making any money, or I was breaking even, or potentially even sometimes losing money because I would run ads to something that then didn't really make any money. And in all of 2021, I made less than $4,000 revenue in my business. Revenue, not profit. That's money in the door. And I would say things like, well, if I just run a good webinar and I can get some people in, then maybe I can make 2K this month. Like that was what I was saying to Chris. Like that's where my head was at. And so fast forward to my very last webinar, which was fall 2021. I ran ads to this webinar. I got on the call. And when I saw how few people had actually shown up live, I ran the whole webinar. I was seeing who was on the call and where people's minds were at. And I pitched. And of course, it was crickets. Like nobody bought it. And I'm sitting there and I still had the cart open for my course for, another week. But I'm sitting there on this webinar. And as soon as I log off, I just know this is going to lose money or break even. Like, I just know that this one is going to be like all the other ones, and I'm not going to make any money. And I got into my bed after this webinar and I cried for hours, literally hours, because I was exhausted. I thought, I can't do this anymore. I want this so bad. And I don't understand why I can help other people make their dreams come true, but I can't do it for me. Like I can freelance in other businesses and I can help them, but why can't I make my dream work? And that was what I wanted, right? This is what I wanted for my freedom life, was the ability to run my own business, helping other people in a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. And I was just so frustrated that I couldn't make it happen. It felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall, just expecting the wall to go away. And eventually, at one point, I had to look up and say, okay, what I'm doing is not working. I need to take a break. But everyone was doing so well with online courses and webinars. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I have this? And so I decided to take a break and focus on my freelancing. And I even applied to some full-time jobs. And then a few weeks later, I saw an ad for a masterclass teaching people how to run paid boot camps. And I had seen them around and I liked the idea. I just had never really signed up for their stuff, or I was never available at the time that they were running it. But I saw the ad and I was available. And I said, you know what? The masterclass was $200. Why not? So, fun fact, you actually have to qualify, or you had to qualify to go to this masterclass based on your business revenue. And the only reason that I qualified is because I'd been at it for so many years. If it had been a yearly revenue requirement, they wouldn't have even let me in. So I barely made it into this room. And so I went to the masterclass and I said, I know that they're going to have some big program off the back of this, but I am not signing up. Rochelle, you are banned. You are banned from spending any money until you make money. Here's the thing. I had invested before. I invested $1,000 in a course that taught you how to create online courses. I invested $2,000 in a business coach that taught a massive group of people who were all making absolutely no money. Another $2,000 for some coach to teach me how to create a business aligned to my personality. Plus, probably another 1,000 combined on random online courses, teaching Instagram strategy, membership, Facebook groups, not to mention all of the money that I had wasted on running ads and then to not make a profit selling my course. I had spent money. I had spent at least, I don't know, $8,000, and I wasn't making it back. So I go to this masterclass, and by the end of the 2 days, when they pitch their program, I think, shit, this is what I need. This is exactly what I need. I knew it in my gut. My intuition was telling me it was the right move. I had never felt so good about a program or an investment before. I would get my own private coach who would look at my stuff and tell me what I was doing wrong. I got help with the bootcamp strategy and help building my signature coaching program, which I had never run before, and help running and learning paid ads, which had always been a problem for me. The coach running it even told me during the masterclass that my price point was too low for my course and it was keeping me stuck based on my audience size, and pointed out a bunch of blind spots that I hadn't even known existed. So I got so much value out of this $200 masterclass. I knew that 6 months with this team was going to be a game changer, and I knew I needed to join. But the only problem was the program was $6,000 and I didn't have it. I couldn't even afford the payment plan without maxing out my credit card by month 2. I literally couldn't afford it. But I knew that this was what I needed. And so I did something crazy and actually super irresponsible. I took out a loan to join this program. That's right. I had good credit, so I took out a loan for 6K and I joined the program. And I was the worst one in the room. I was surrounded by people doing $100,000 launches. I'm not saying 100K in a year, I'm saying 100K profit boot camps. That's who I was surrounding myself with. And I'll be honest, I was scared. My Okay. My first boot camp was at the very start of 2022. I was spending about $100 to $200 a day on ads, which right now I'm like, that's nothing. But back then, oh my God, that was really scary. And I was freaking out. And so I had a coaching call, a group coaching call, and I hopped on the call, got a hot seat, and I told my coach Jill what was going on and why I was so scared and nervous about this ad spend, and oh, I'm not going to make my money back, and then, I don't have any money, and I was just in all the money scarcity, right? And so my coach Jill looked at me and she said, "So you don't make the 6K back in this boot camp, then what, you quit?" And I said, "Well, no, I'm not going to quit. Like, I still have 6 months in the program. I have time to run another boot camp." And she said, "Okay, so 6 months has come to an end in the program and you haven't made your 6K back. You haven't made the money that you wanted to make. You quitting then?" And I looked at her and I said, "Well, no, I mean, I would give myself a little bit longer, but I do have a deal with my husband where if I'm not making money by this summer, I have to go back and get a job in the education industry in Asia again. Like, we're going to move back to Asia and I'm going to get a high paying job there, because if I can't make this work financially here, like, we need to go back to Asia." She said, "Okay, worst case scenario, you go back to Asia and you get a job as a college counselor again. How many months will it take for you to make this 6K back?" And I said, "I don't know. I guess a couple months, less than 6 months for sure." She said, "Okay, so you're not going to default on this loan. So let's take that problem off the table. But here's what I'm seeing. Either you go all in, and worst case scenario, you end up paying off the debt in Asia. This time next year, you're living in Asia paying off your debt. But best case scenario, you make back all your money and then some, and have a successful business, which is what you obviously want. Or you can panic and pull back your ad spend and stay stuck in this scarcity money mindset. And then you definitely end up going to Asia with what? A tiny bit less debt. So what, it takes you what, 1 month longer to pay your debt off? Okay. You keep saying that you want out of the kiddie pool and to go swim with the big kids, but you won't take your hand off the edge of the freaking pool. You're grasping onto it for dear life. Let go and go swim. And she yelled at me in front of everyone, and I cried in this large group coaching call. I cried in front of everybody, but here's the thing, I needed to hear it. This, to this day, is some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my entire life, and I will never forget it. So I ran my first boot camp in February 2022. 42 people joined, and then 4 people joined my signature program, and I made $4,000 profit. But here's the thing, that was more than I had made revenue the entire year before. Like what I had made revenue in the entire year, I made profit in one boot camp. And so I ran another one. And the next boot camp, I made 8K. I doubled it, which means in 6 months, I made $12,000 profit. I doubled my investment in the program in 6 months. But this is not an episode about simple math and doubling your business coaching investment. It goes so much deeper than that. In July, I ran another boot camp and I made $45,000 in profit. I still remember looking at the numbers and running out to my husband, Chris, and literally screaming like, holy crap, oh my God. And we hadn't even hit 45 yet. I think we were still in the 30s. And I was like, how is this possible? We're not even done yet. I don't think I've ever been that excited in business, to be honest. Like it just blew my mind. The summer boot camp went so well. I quit my freelancing and I actually hired someone to help me all in the same month. That year, I ran 4 boot camps and I made $121,000 in revenue. In 1 year, a 6K investment got me from struggling and living paycheck to paycheck to running a thriving business with actual employees bringing over 100K a year after years of struggling trying to do it on my own. This business that I was building was the catalyst to the life. Getting the business to work and scaling it is what allows me to qualify for digital nomad visas in any country that I want. It allowed me to feel comfortable bringing a child into the world. It allowed me to hire a nanny 9 to 5 to watch her from home so that I could be there with her and breastfeed more easily. It allowed me to move to a more expensive country like Spain, because previously I'd been living in places like Georgia or Vietnam, which was even cheaper. I mean, my rent there was $400 a month. Before I ever made any money in my business, I had a future self visualization, just like the one that I made everyone yesterday do in the boot camp. I was living somewhere in the Mediterranean. I had my own private office with a view of the sea. I was recording a podcast. I had a team of people here to support me doing all the stuff that I hate. Like I could actually delegate to people. And I imagined myself having a team meeting with a whole bunch of people on my team that I was delegating to. And I envisioned running live events with hundreds of people at them and walking my child to school down old historic streets, saying hi to my neighbors, enjoying the sun and the fresh air. That was the life that I wanted. And one day, a couple months ago, actually, I think it was the February boot camp, I woke up and I realized day one when we were doing that future self visualization exercise, I was like, holy shit, that's my life. That's literally my life. I have my own private office with a view of the Mediterranean. I have a podcast. I have a team of people who support me doing all the stuff I really hate so I can work in my zone of genius. I run live events to hundreds of people. There are more than 400 people signed up for our bootcamp right now. I walk my daughter Ava to school down old historic streets. I say buenas to my neighbors every morning. I live in a sunny place with gorgeous weather. I can walk or take public transportation anywhere. I have time to spend with my family and friends. I don't ever have work calls before noon. I can walk to the beach, and I run a business that's on track to hit $1 million revenue this year. I have literally everything on my future self visualization list from 2021, back when I'm like getting emotional saying this, back when I was making no money. Literally everything. And I can't believe it, and it doesn't feel real. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because there is absolutely no way that this would have happened if I didn't invest that $6,000. Absolutely no way. because it's not about the money, it's about the life. Now, the reason why I need you to hear this story is because this gets to be you too, but you have to go for it. That 6K didn't just buy me a bigger revenue number, it bought me a whole new life. But the income isn't the point. The freedom life is the point. But the income gets you the life. Money gives you choices. And investing in yourself is not reckless. We all invest all the time. And investing a lot of money in things like college, university, that's normalized. But investing in yourself or investing in coaching to get the life that you want, that's reckless and irresponsible, apparently. But when it comes, to a couple $1,000 program, that's when people judge. Suddenly you're irresponsible. But I can tell you for a fact right now, that $6,000 coaching program has done way more for me than my master's degree ever has. It's made me way more money. It's given me way more opportunities, and I would not be here right now without it. That program was so valuable that I am still, 5 years later, working with the same coach. Because it's still a good investment to work with her. I am paying a lot more than $6,000 now to work with her privately, but she helps me grow my business and become the type of woman and leader and person that I want to become. And so investing is not irresponsible or reckless. It is my stepping stone to the life that I want to have and the person that I want to be. And so here's what the real risk is. It's staying stuck and waiting to feel safe and thinking that that will make things work out for you. Because that's what I did for years. That's what got me to this place. That is how, like the place in 2021 when I was at rock bottom and about to quit on my dream, that's what burned through my $20,000 in savings, was me being afraid to invest in myself at a bigger level. I was investing more than $6,000 piecemeal, thinking, oh, well, I don't want to invest too much money. If I just invest 1,000 here and 500 there and 2K here, then maybe I'll get the result. But that is how I ended up having no savings to begin with, was playing it safe, staying in the kiddie pool, dreaming of going to swim with the big kids, but I was afraid to take my hand off the edge of the pool. If I hadn't invested that 6K, I would either be, right now in 2026, I would either be a broke freelancer with horrible money mindset issues still, or I would be back in Asia working a desk job that I don't love. But either way, I'd probably still be abroad because, let's be real, it's me, but I wouldn't be living my freedom life. So maybe you're hesitating right now on something that you think that you can't afford. Maybe that thing is moving abroad or getting help with your business or both. But my question for you is, can you afford not to? Can you afford to stay stuck? Can you afford to stay in the US or stay not making money online? Like, can you afford that? Because I know I couldn't. So I need you to ask yourself a question right now. What is it actually costing you to stay stuck trying to do this all alone? The people who make their freedom lives happen are the ones that stop white knuckling it, trying to do everything solo, and actually get real help. So in summary, the best money that I ever spent was money that I was very scared to spend. The money that didn't make sense to invest, but I did it anyway. Stop waiting to feel safe. Investing in yourself and your dreams is never going to feel safe. But betting on yourself and betting on your dreams and the life that you want to live is the only way to have the life that you want. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you all next week. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of the Move Abroad Coach podcast. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step towards your life of freedom overseas, head to moveabroadcourse.com to join the Move Abroad Master Plan, a self-paced course that walks you through creating your own personalized plan so you can move abroad with clarity and confidence. I'm Rochelle Gamblin, and I'll see you next week. Bye.